Hello, my name is Andy DeCourt, and it's my privilege to serve as the pastor at Phoenix Christian Reformed Church. This midweek devotional is an extra connection at a time when our connections are limited. It's been a rough stretch. The coronavirus continues to spread across the country and the world at slower rates in most places, but not here in Arizona where we've seen cases spike. Thankfully, deaths haven't spiked, but still, it's not a good situation. The race-related protests continue, and so apparently does the violence, the unjust violence by police officers. 2 police officers killed Rayshard Brooks in Atlanta last Friday outside of a Wendy's, despite the fact that he was running away from them. This week, the Supreme Court usurped the power of the legislature by retroactively expanding the classes of people considered under the Civil Rights Act of 1964. Closer to home this week, forest fires are raging across Arizona, causing evacuations in some places. It's really no wonder that for many of us, our anxiety just continues to rise. So how can we cope with that? Well, have you heard the joke about germs? Never mind, I don't want to spread them. I'll tell you a coronavirus joke, but you might have to wait 2 weeks to see if you've really got it. Maybe you don't like that one. What types of jokes would be a good coronavirus joke? Well, an inside joke, of course. I know. Maybe they're not that funny, but jokes offer one way to cope with a stressful situation. It's good. Humor can bond people together in situations, even really hard ones, maybe even especially with really hard situations. But as funny as humor can be, and even as useful as humor can be at times, God offers a much better tool, a stronger, more lasting tool to help in dark times. In John 8, verse 12, the Pharisees and others were doubting Jesus, and he said, "I am the light of the world. Whoever follows me will never walk in darkness, but will have the light of light." The same thing happens in John chapter 12. Again, Jesus is being doubted. Jesus is being ignored by some and questioned by others. And then in verse 46, he says, "I have come into the light, into the world as a light, so that no one who believes in me should stay in darkness." That's the answer when we're in the dark and when we're in the down times, is to make sure we seek out the light, that we live in the light. Even in dismay, Jesus is our light in darkness. Well, how does that work? What does it look like? How can the light of Christ help us in our present darkness? Well, today, I'm going to bring in some heavy hitters to illustrate it for us. I'm inviting you to watch the 8th grade chapel from Phoenix Christian School, pre-K to 8. It features testimonies from 10 students, including our own Joshua Mataram. If you're discouraged about the future, about what's next for future generations, watching this will be 9 minutes well spent. It's also hard to imagine a better exhibit for the value of Christian education in raising children to see the light of Christ in a dark world. I'll also include a link to a song written by our pianist and PCS music teacher Nathan Grunendijk, entitled "Come and Find the Light." May God give us the light of Christ this week. Thank you, Mr. G and PCS 8th graders, for your help and encouragement today. May God give us the light of Christ. Amen.